Hi, I'm Laura McCracken. I'm here in the lovely Marlena Dietrich bar in Berlin, and we are at the Merchant Payment Ecosystem. I'm doing a myth-busting interview. I'm having a lot of speakers to come and help me with trying to dissect these myths, these 10 myths. So here I'm very lucky to have Robert Kraal, who is the founder of Everflow. Silverflow, thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for hosting me.
So lovely panel discussion just now on a topic that's near and dear to my heart, people. So how was it for you?
I think it's a good session. I mean, it's great that there were different type of companies. So of course, Visa was there, Volkswagen, which are huge companies. We as a reasonably small startup company. So you see that there are different perspectives around these different companies, how they handle it. Makes sense. We are a bit more agile and a bit more experimenting, but it's great to talk to, let's say, this group of people and see that we have the same vision long term, but different challenges on the day-to-day business.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a really heartwarming discussion. It's good to see that people are still talking about good old-fashioned leadership and team building.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is the most important. I've worked, as you know, many different startups, and at the moment that you reach a certain size, there will always be the question about how do you communicate. In the beginning, you're with a few people and everybody knows what everybody's doing. And the bigger you get, the more people sort of start looking at the senior leadership and say, okay, we used to know everything that was happening and now we don't know that anymore. And that's a big challenge for a growing company. And at a certain moment when you're really a big organization, that should be your constant focus point, making sure you keep everybody connected to what you actually want to achieve as a business and achieve as a team, and make sure that they're connected with the leadership team and with each other as well, with the other teams as well.
I remember a little startup you used to work for called, let's see what, Adyen.
Adyen, yeah.
Yeah, it's not so small anymore, is it?
No, it was small, very small when I started there indeed. And today I think they're with like couple of thousand people, but also with one of the companies I worked for before, Bibit, WorldPay, similar story. But you see that there are certain jumps when communication gets more important. So in the early stage, up to 30 people, everybody knows what everybody's doing. The moment that you get sort of to 60 people, you will need some sort of middle management layer or team lead stuff. And you see that communication gets a little bit worse. By the time that you reach 200 people, you don't know everybody by name anymore, and definitely not what they do at home, what their hobbies are, etc. And at the time that you get 600 people, you really have to look, who should I contact for getting this problem solved? And those are, I think, challenges. I'm not sure if those numbers are exactly the same for every company, but it's sort of in those order of numbers if you grow a company. And I think that if you know that, if you've been through that process a couple of times, you also try to do better. But even if you do better with your next company, it still will always be the challenge. At a certain moment, you need to have this middle management leadership. You will need to have different type of teams, and that will have an impact on how people work together and how they communicate. But it's good if you know that upfront, that you can sort of try to build communication in as sort of the core, the foundation of your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been an inspiring story, and your journey has been an inspiring one for a lot of us who've watched you grow. And so now I'm happy that you're here to talk about one of the myths.
Yeah.
So which myth are we going to give you? Okay, let's see.
I don't know. Challenge me, test me. I haven't read any of them.
Okay. How about myth number 8?
Okay.
German consumers prefer using cash over cards.
I don't think that's a myth. I think they do prefer cash over cards.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
Today. So that's my first-hand answer. But that's today. And I think that there are different historical reasons around cost and technology and the confidence in those networks. But you see that over the last couple of years, for instance, in the card not present e-commerce space, they massively adopted, for instance, PayPal as one of the biggest payment methods. So you see that people are moving in the card not present space. They move from ELV, elektronische lastschriftverwahrungen en lastschriftverwahrungen, to more online payment methods such as PayPal and also more cards. And I'm convinced that it will pass through, it will trickle through to the card present world. And you see that already today. If you take a taxi, they quite often have this little MPOS device or SoftPOS device. And if you would have been here 5 or 10 years ago in Berlin, everything would
I've
be
been
cash.
here. Oh yes, I've been.
So-
We've all been there.
Yeah, and you see it changing. So I think
Yeah.
that it's true, but it's changing.
Yeah, and is it like the taxi example is great because I know that you now see in the airport that all licensed taxis will
Exactly.
accept
Yeah.
credit cards.
Yeah.
So is this driven by consumers or is it driven by regulation?
I think it's mainly driven by consumers. It's difficult to change consumer behavior. Yes, regulators can change the consumer behavior, of course, but I think that consumers just are getting more confidence. Of course, on the internet, you cannot pay with cash. And as a result, people started using other payment forms on the internet over the last, let's say, 20 years or so, 25 years maybe. And at the moment that you're more confident with using any form of digital payment on the internet, why not use that same one in a card-present environment? So I think that is more behind it, that people over the last decades, that traditionally they didn't like it, and over the last decades, maybe because of internet payment methods, that they also started to use and see the advantage of using cards or gyro cards or other payment methods in a card-present environment as well.
Yeah, and
I think that might
how
be
do
next.
Germans feel about loyalty? Do they like the idea of gaining loyalty? Because that's a big thing in America that
Yeah.
drives card usage.
Well, in America it definitely is. In all fairness, I don't know if there are many loyalty cards issued in Germany. I do know in the Netherlands there was one card and they stopped doing it. So people are not using it because of the loyalty. Only American Express still provides loyalty cards. But American Express, I don't think it's the largest brand in Germany. They probably have like 10-12% market share or so. But I don't know, to be quite honest, if there are many other loyalty cards in Germany. But it could definitely be a reason. In the US, I know it's a strong reason for people to use a particular card
Yeah.
because they get more reward points for that particular brand.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, we're talking about America and Germany, but you're Dutch,
Yep,
and in Holland they use Ideal.
exactly.
Yeah, so that seems to be what percentage of people use Ideal?
I think it's
Like
pretty high. It's like
80,
70,
90,
80
yeah, it's
percent
high.
at this moment. But that's only e-commerce transactions. Huh? So
Right.
in the card present environment, they use the debit cards mostly from Visa, MasterCard,
Yes.
and credit as well, but mostly debit cards.
Interesting. So, how do you see the difference in consumers between the Netherlands and Germany in terms of paying preferences?
Well, I think that's in the Netherlands, particularly the Ideal brand did a fantastic marketing campaign of convincing the consumers this is the best, the easiest, the safest payment methods, and of course also convincing the retailers that this is a good, safe, but also relatively price-friendly payment method for them. So most of the retailers support, I would say all of the retailers support Ideal as an accepting payment method, and in combination with the good branding. And part of that branding and that trust is that initially Ideal was owned and promoted by all the banks together, and there was a lot of confidence in the bank.
Yeah.
In Germany, probably what comes closest is gyro cards, but gyro card actually is a card present payment method which almost has been ported to e-commerce, and I'm not sure why that didn't take off as big as Ideal. Could have to do with the marketing campaigns behind it. So I think from a credit debit perspective, the Germans are similar to the Netherlands. So in the Netherlands, they prefer debit payment methods such as Ideal or such as the debit cards from Visa, from MasterCard, etc., over the true credit cards. I think that is similar in Germany. They also prefer to have the debit cards over the credit cards. But that should still, in my opinion, lead that debit cards would be quite a common thing in Germany, both
Yeah.
e-com and point of sale.
Interesting. So, in the future, looking at crystal ball, do you see Germany ever adopting this cashless society, or is it always going to be?
No, I think it will. I think it will take time. It goes a little bit slower in Germany, and Germany is not the only market, by the way. There are a few other markets which have a similar pattern. But in my opinion, it's give it another 5-6 years, and Germany will look completely different when it comes to payments.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And what are you going to do about it?
Well, we're going to make sure that the acceptance of cards gets easier and easier, both for the banks, the payment service providers, and the retailers. That it gets easier, well, from a cost perspective, more interesting, that they get more data, so reduce fraud. that they get access to the cash quicker, etc. So we're gonna make sure that if they use cards, it's gonna be a fantastic experience.
Excellent. Okay. And last question, what are you hoping to get out of MPE this trip?
Well, for us, it's very important that all the companies here know about us. Many of them are struggling with this credit card question. They're not only European companies, or sorry, German companies here, but they're across Europe. And for us, it's important that everybody that is here knows who we are at Silverflow, what we do.
Great to meet you, Robert. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And let's raise a glass to Silverflow.
Thank you for the interview.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks.